Well, welcome back, students, to the Ugly Chairs podcast. So glad that you're here joining us again as we continue our conversation around hard topics. My name is Joel, and I am joined again today with Chelsea and Drew. Welcome back, y'all.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Great to see you guys again. Drew, are we going to be able to see you in this chair now that I'm looking at you?
Oh, no. What have I done?
It's just his head floating there.
What did I do? It's like when you watch the news and the weather person is wearing like a green tie.
Dude.
And then like Oklahoma City is just like right in the middle of it for a second.
Dude, Oklahoma, it's right where my heart is, man. You know where it is.
Yeah. Okay, see.
Yeah. Well, apparently Jesus is like where your heart is. You're following him.
Fully following.
Fully following him, man.
Dude, I'm so self-conscious now.
I'm so sorry. Oh, this is the best podcast start ever.
One day we should match our chairs.
Oh, dude.
If you can find a shirt
God.
that has that print on it,
do you have one? Yeah, burn it. It's just like a golf polo. It's like one of those like newer like golf polos somewhere. I don't even know.
Funny.
Can I find a shirt that matches like
You might have to take the upholstery and create your own.
I just like cut out like the back of the chair and then like a little like shirt.
Yes.
You know, like template or whatever, and just throw it on
very
top.
Victorian.
Yes,
Yeah.
very much
Very
so.
Victorian.
Very much so. Yeah. Dude, that's fantastic. Anyway, so we're gonna jump back into talking about hard topics then too here in a minute. But I'm curious as we think specifically around the lens of just navigating hard topics with others in our lives. I'm curious to know, when you guys go and hang out with your friends, like what is your like go-to thing that you enjoy going to do? And off of that, do your friends always enjoy doing that same thing together then too? Or do you feel like there's sometimes a tension with your friends around like, hey, some people would rather go and do this, or I really want to go do that? What does that look like for you guys?
I love that you assume that I have friends. That's awesome.
Well, you said last episode.
I'm just kidding.
We're your friends.
Oh, thanks. I'm joking.
Okay.
What we love to do, I love to play disc golf.
Really?
And I've found friends through that. Like,
I did not know that about you.
Oh yeah, dude.
Where do you go play disc golf? Like, is there
like disc golf courses?
There's disc golf courses. Okay, just pretend I know nothing.
Yeah, let's just
More
pretend.
Like, all right, let me pretend. I know nothing. Tell me about the sport.
So I live in Lancaster, PA.
Right.
And Lancaster and York has some of the best disc golf courses in the nation. So in 2019, we actually hosted. I did it. Hosted the Amateur World Championships here. So there's some like really great championship level courses in there.
They have world championships?
Oh yeah, this is like a huge sport.
Wow.
Like,
it's in the Olympics?
It's not.
It's coming there.
I don't know. We'll see.
No.
But
we don't want that. Yeah,
it was the fastest growing sport during COVID. Because you could be outside and socially distance.
That makes
and
sense.
so people picked
fair,
up disc golf, and we saw huge growth in the sport.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so I just met a ton of people, like going to the course. There's like clubs that put on tournaments and stuff like that. And you meet people at tournaments. And
you compete?
I do. I was actually, a couple years ago, I had a sponsor, actually.
Shut up!
Yeah, I was sponsored by a clothing
I feel like
company.
I don't know you at all.
I know.
Dude, it's crazy.
I know. Oh my goodness. You don't even look like an athlete. This is amazing.
Hold on, man. Hold on. But no, wait. So do you like, so I'm thinking like, I don't play a ton of golf, but like when I've gone out and play golf, like you go out with like a crew of people and you just like go like hole to hole. It's essentially the same thing? Like,
Same thing.
Or do you go out individually?
So both.
Or you do either and two.
Yeah.
Okay.
So disc golf has a great culture of just like welcoming people in. Like, we really want to grow the sport. And so if you see someone playing by themselves on the course, hey, do you want to jump in?
Is that the Frisbee game?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So like little round circles that are plastic that
You throw them
into like those metal
heavy
baskets.
Yeah, all right.
So if you've ever been to like a park and you're like,
work
what
with
in
that?
the world
Yeah.
is this? That's what it is.
Yeah.
How do the points work with that? Like, is it the goal just to like land it in right away, and then like that's how you get a point
That's
for
how
that,
you
or like score with that, or
Gosh, I love this. This is turning into
like
a
truly
disc golf podcast.
I know.
I'm all
Sorry,
about
this is not a disc golf podcast.
Dude, I could talk about this for hours. And we just lost.
We've unlocked a new layer of Drew.
Everyone was like, just clicked off the podcast.
Bye everyone. Okay.
So golf is actually a way of scoring.
Okay.
So the term golf is about how it's scored. So it's scored with pars, birdies, eagles,
Oh, okay,
things
sure.
like that.
Okay,
so
yeah,
like,
sure. I get that. Yeah.
technically, golf is ball golf. Like you're playing golf with a ball.
Okay.
Disc golf, you're playing with discs. And so
Okay.
golf is the way you score a game. So there's pars. So if it's a par 3 and I get it in 4 shots, it's +1. If I get it in 2, it's -1.
Okay.
If you hit par, it's 0 and you move on to the next one. So
could you make a game of any object golf?
Yeah, you could like play chair golf, like
Star-
throwing this chair
golf.
at an object. How many times can I throw this ugly
Say
chair?
less.
I think we need to make a new game.
We just created a brand new sport. Look at us go, man.
So yes,
yes. All that being
hang
said,
out with
yeah.
guys and girls who like to play disc golf and have met friends through it.
Wow.
Another thing I love to do, I just love to eat.
Oh yeah.
I'm a big eater.
Oh, okay.
Big food guy.
Yeah.
So like I think that's where
Yeah.
maybe the most conflict with friends is
It's like different spots.
where we're gonna eat. Maybe
Yeah.
it's because no one's not gonna be like, no, I don't want to go out to eat.
Right.
Maybe they would, but
mean,
not the people we hang out with.
Yeah.
It's normally like that's where the disagreement.
Do you
comes.
have like a go-to restaurant like around Lancaster that you really love going to?
Yeah, we live really close to a restaurant, so that's kind of become like our local spot.
Oh, sweet,
where
cool.
We go and we've gotten to know some of the. Well, I sound like we're there all the time. We've just gotten to know some of the staff there, and we love taking people there.
Yeah.
And
that's actually where you go to dinner every single night. Yeah, this is like, yo, welcome back. What's up, everyone?
It's the reason I don't look like an athlete is because we eat out every.
I feel like my friends are much lazier than your friends.
And Chelsea, what would you say? What would you say you guys do?
Hang out, sit on the couch, watch a movie, and talk. I feel like
No, I love that.
That's great.
I feel like that's like typically what we do. And that's what everyone kind of enjoys doing and eating. Like, then we'll be like, all right, let's get a pizza or something and continue this party as we just bum on the couch and talk and put on Harry Potter or something.
Nice.
Like,
Shout out.
sounds like
Shout
a great night to me.
HP.
So,
I just
yeah.
watched all those movies for the first time, like over the past like 2 months, and they were fantastic.
Wow.
Oh, you liked them? Okay.
Oh yeah, I love them. I think they were great. Yeah. Are
Do you not?
Oh, I didn't say it. Don't read into that.
Gosh.
Saying that.
The fact that you question that so
Yeah,
strongly.
like immediately just questioned it. Like,
of course he loved them.
Yeah.
Oh, I felt like that was a good question. It's why I'm not hosting.
Oh, so good. So no, but like just a lot more of like the like laid back, chill, want to hang out. Yeah.
Yep. And typically nobody disagrees on that.
Well, that's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I can't imagine someone being like, no, I don't want to like
Right.
just.
No, let's go
do
run a
lazy stuff.
marathon.
Yeah.
No.
See, for
Not my friend.
yeah, well, yeah. Hey, listen, if there's a friend group out there, I'm sure there is. That's like, yo, just like let's just like start training for that. Like, I would love to say that I could be a friend in that group, but I would probably just be like the person behind that's like, dragging everyone back behind or whatever. But no, I think for me, in some ways, it's a kind of a weird mix of the two. Like I had like. With my friends, I think a lot of it's like, hey, we love playing sports, right? So like a lot of that, like growing up even too, is like, hey, like let's go over to so-and-so's house and, play wiffle ball in the backyard or pick up basketball if someone had a basketball hoop at their house. But the other side of it too is like, I'm also someone that like likes having their like own personal time then too. So I think especially in college, like one of the things that we did a lot more of was like me and my roommate would invite everyone over just to like hang out in, our dorm room and, watch movies, or we played a lot of Mario Kart. So, there's a lot of Mario Kart that I continue to still even do with HSM now then too, since we have a Switch there then as well.
Who's your go-to character?
Okay.
Princess Peach.
It changes. I think I'm going to go with Link. Link is the normal one. Is that, who'd you say?
Princess Peach.
For you or for him?
For me. Princess Peach? No.
There's nothing wrong with that.
No, there's not.
Nothing wrong
She's
with that.
mine. She's mine. But I was trying to channel you as well, thinking you would pull something
like just crazy.
Yeah, silly out there. Like, no, that's my girl.
Totally out of left field. No, I think I normally go Link. And then this is actually really embarrassing to admit, we did a lot of research in college about how to do the best cart combinations.
Oh,
so we figured out, like, I can't tell you what their names are, but I'm like, oh yeah, it's all saved and like what is like the fastest one for a given character. And like, yeah, it was.
Do you have that spreadsheet?
I don't. I have a lot of spreadsheets, but that's not one of them that I still have. Anymore.
Link that in the comments.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. But yeah, so like even off of this idea, right? Like sometimes when it comes to like our friendships or people close to us, right? We wrestle with even just, little things. This is, always normal in friendships too, about like what are, where are we going to go, to eat, or what Mario character, maybe even using a Mario Kart then too. But even when it comes to this idea of hard topics, I think even in friendships, we often can come into conflict at times to two of friends about even some bigger issues or some bigger topics in that as well too. So I'm curious, have you guys ever run into something like that before in your own life? What was some of that navigation that you've had to kind of think through with that friend? And like, what was that experience like even for that friendship or relationship then too, as this happened to you guys?
I gotta think of one.
Yeah,
that comes right to the top of my head. Differences in opinions on what we think is right or good, or like our values.
Yeah.
Or like when somebody makes a decision, when a friend makes a decision that you don't agree with, and then try to talk to him about that, to be like, hey, like, I don't think that's a good decision for your life. Why are you doing that? And you question them on their reasoning and all of that behind. And like me and my friend growing up, it was college age a little bit. We were talking about the concept of moving in with boyfriends before marriage. And it was like, well, I don't know if I agree with that. And it's like, well, this is why. And well, what about this? And it was a big, heavy, hard-hitting topic that we had a lot of different opinions on it. And it added to confrontation in the relationship, because it was, well, I think this way. What about this? How do you believe this? And then there was definitely some arguments, some confrontation that we didn't always handle the best.
Right, sure.
But I can say, like, I am still friends with these people today, and being able to reconcile it, hear each other's hearts, and be there to navigate those hard topics together, I think is key. But it can put rifts in relationships. It can destroy relationships. Going through hard topics, politics, I feel like that's a big one in the world, right? Like, there's so many hard-hitting topics that can divide people so strongly if there's just a difference of opinions. And then how do you navigate that? It can either grow your relationship forward, and you can agree to disagree or come to a conclusion together, or whatever that looks like. You can love each other through it. Or you can just be like, well, sorry, I don't agree with that. And that is a firm line, and see you later. Peace out. You know, like, I've seen it go both ways. I've experienced both ways.
Yeah, totally.
I think a lot of the conflict that's happened with my friends is when priorities change.
Yeah.
And so I'm old enough to have friends that I've been friends with for 20 years.
Yeah.
And so when you're young, I think you find people with like similar priorities.
Sure.
And then you just become friends. And then when you grow up, life changes and some of your priorities change. And that can be really hard when your friends' priorities have changed and yours hasn't. So like my, Janae and I, we just had our son like less than a year ago. That is now a high priority. And we have friends that don't have kids. And that's a huge change of like, hey, I can't hang out past 7 p.m. because it's his bedtime.
Right.
And be like, oh, I thought we valued being together and having dinner and hanging out and the weekends and like, they're understanding. But then there's also this just like, oh, so we're not as important.
Right.
And it's almost like,
hurt feelings can get involved.
You're right. You're not as important as my son.
Right.
Well, that's hard to say to someone.
Right.
Well, even in that example too, Drew, like that's almost like your priority has changed, right? Or even in that friendship, like someone's priorities changed, but then the other one's just still the same, right? And it's just kind of like, well, now what, right? Some of that then too. So,
and it can happen when your friends go to college and you stay home to go to college, or they go to college and you choose not to go to college, or you guys were on a sports team together and one didn't make the team. That's not a priority change. It's just like literally your schedule changes and one feels like they got left behind and like
or proximity changes, and that can cause division, hurt feelings, all of that, just because life happens.
Yeah,
it's hard.
And Chelsea, I want to quickly jump back to one of the things that you had said too, because like you were talking about navigating those hard topics with those friends, but like you're still continuing to be friends with them to this day, which I think is fantastic. And I say that because I think there's a culture right now of like, hey, if you disagree with someone, like distance yourself from them, or like there's just like a natural like leaning towards that than to like, have you seen students kind of like wrestle through that or experience that, or like, why do you guys think some of that culture is like, just the way it is in this day and age with some of those
because
things?
It's uncomfortable and it's hard to live in the space of disagreement or of conflict. Is harder to live in that than it is to be like, all right, cool, that's uncomfortable, I'm out. But it doesn't make it better, because discomfort isn't always a bad thing, because growth and comfort can't coexist. And I think so often our students and us as humans seek comfort, seek the known, seek what we appreciate and are familiar with, and are not comfortable with or don't like things that are different. And we don't take the time to understand it or to learn more about it or to care about that person above the preference, that it's easier to just be like, well, you don't agree? All right, I don't want to live in this tension, so it's easier for me to dip out, peace out, see you later, have a good life. Because it's easier than it is to be in conflict, to navigate tension, to be in hard situations.
Totally, yeah. For sure.
That's what I think, at least.
Drew, any other thoughts about that, man?
Oh, that's great. Growth doesn't happen in comfort.
Yeah.
I can't grow in this chair.
You can't.
It's just so comfortable.
You're becoming the chair.
Yeah, I mean, you're kind of becoming the chair. That's what you're
I am comfort.
You're blending in.
So, but that's hard to do.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like,
absolutely.
I need to have this conversation with you, and it's going to stink for you, and it's
Right.
going to stink for me, but I know it's best for us. I
Right.
don't know if my brain naturally wants to go
Right.
there,
Yeah.
or even if like you can do like the pregame pep talk in your mind of like,
Yeah.
this is how I'm going to say it. This is how it's going to go. And you run through all the scenarios, and then you sit down and you start that conversation, and then it doesn't
go that way.
Yeah. And you're like, so now we have to repair the
Right.
friendship from this conversation, but then also we still have to talk about
Right.
the thing that's uncomfortable and whatever it is
Yeah.
a disagreement. And why do we do that? Because we love that person.
Right.
And we want what's best for them, but also for our friendship.
Right.
And I think even like sometimes growing up, even thinking through like I'm a parent now and I'm going to be like parenting my son, and I think about the future of like I want to protect him. I think sometimes we grow up in homes that are like that person is a bad influence, and they are. It's so true of like show me your friends, I'm going to show you your future.
Yep.
So there's that truth, but then also like we're called to like love people and be with people, and how are you going to share the good news of the gospel with people who need it if you're not with them?
Right.
Yeah.
So now you're in this like weird paradox of like I need to protect myself and you know, garbage in, garbage out, like that kind of just happens. But then also just like don't bubble yourself and just be with you and people who think like you. You need to be in the world and showing them the love of Jesus. And so now we even inside of ourselves we have this weird like tension of like, all right, this person may not be the best influence, but I want to influence them. Am I starting to be influenced by them? And now you have like this internal like, what do I do?
Yeah. And it's so fascinating because like as humans, we crave homeostasis. Scientifically, our bodies want to get into a rhythm, a pattern of health and comfort and normalcy. And anything that throws it off, our bodies naturally fight to get back to this health place. And so that's why anytime there's a riff in that or a discomfort in that, or this doesn't feel safe or comfortable, this conversation is challenging, that's why we naturally say, nope, I need homeostasis. Chemically, scientifically, we need that. But just because something hurts doesn't mean it's not helping us. It could be helping us to heal. Because so we can't run away from scary, difficult, hard situations, even though our natural chemistry wants to stay in the safe zone. We can't run away from it. We need to lean into it, because if somebody is sick and has cancer, the way to get rid of that is to surgically cut it out and go through chemotherapy and radically rid your body of that disease, right? Is that a comfortable process? No. If you get a scratch, that hurts. Can you imagine needing something removed that's damaging you? It's an uncomfortable, painful, hurtful process. Does that mean it's bad? No, it's good. That needs to happen so you can live, so you can thrive, so you can heal. But naturally, we want to stay in that comfortability spot. But instead of running away from and resisting the tension, that dynamic, the discomfort, we need to lean into it, because just because it hurts us doesn't mean it's harmful. It could be helping us heal. And that is a tension and a paradox to live in. But if we can understand that well, we won't always run from the trouble and the difficult conversations or the confrontation with friends or with family or of hard situations, or even stepping into the unknown that have things that can be scary, but like God is calling us to, or we should be doing. If we always lean to comfort, we're not going to grow and get better. We're actually probably going to be worse, because comfort zones aren't growth. They're probably a bad place to be.
Sure. And I think sometimes those comfort zones, even just as I'm hearing y'all process some of it, I think sometimes those are intentionally chosen and sometimes unintentionally as well too. Yeah. Even like thinking through my life, I know that like in a lot of ways my family was blessed that like we just didn't like move really at all. Like I pretty much stayed in the same area, right? Same kind of friend group of people like around me, same church, grew up in, right? So like when I think about my life up until a certain point, it was like, oh, like there was a very unified, maybe it's a great way to say it, like sphere of influence and just like some of those like opinions or whatever that was around. But I remember as time kind of went on and you started to kind of break out of some of that, especially if that is, a student's experience where they have been around kind of an environment like that before. It's cool to see how like even stepping out of that not only allows you to be exposed to different ideas or different thoughts on some of these topics and as well too, but also the ways that that stuff that is rooted in your life, you can actually find ways to like either wrestle with that in a different way or even just like find new anchoring to support some of those things that you've just been thinking about or have been a part of your life up until that point then too. So, but specifically, I know for myself, especially when it comes to dealing with those things or even having those conversations with friends, I know for sure that aside from, or me trying to have that conversation without any sort of just like spiritual background in that, as far as like looking into scripture and seeing what God's word has to say about some of those conversations, I would just be really bad at it. Right. So I'm curious for y'all, as you think about that idea of navigating through hard topics with others, is there any part of scripture in particular where you see like, hey, that's a really great example, or that's a really key verse for me just to be reminding myself of as I head into those kind of conversations, and the way that that just helps shapes the relationship and the conversation with that friend then?
First scripture that comes to my mind says, be slow to speak and quick to listen. And I think that's key in any crucial conversations, hard things. Like we have to be slower to speak. Yeah. And much quicker to listen, because if we just want to fight back or jump back with our answers, we're not actually hearing that person. We're not hearing their heart or what's going on in their lives or where they're coming from. Yeah. If our agenda is just to argue or to fight back or to have the best answer, that's not helpful for the relationship or hearing that out. But we need to be quick to listen and slow to speak.
I can hear my mom saying, like, God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth, so listen twice as much as you talk. Yeah. That's good math. Yeah, that's good. Yeah. Shout out Sharon. Yeah. Hey, come on. I think there's different stories, but I think a verse I keep coming to is in 2 Peter. I want to say it's chapter 2, where he's just talking about, like, when you give a defense for what you believe, do it with gentleness and humility. Just like, okay, so we need to give a defense. Yeah. But we need to be humble about it. Being willing to say, like, I may be wrong about this. Right. Yeah. Like, are we even like coming to a conversation being like, this is what I believe, this is what I've experienced, but I'm still willing to say, hey, I could be wrong. Right. And then also just like with gentleness. Dude, if you come in like a firecracker, like that doesn't help relationships. No one likes a hothead. No one likes an arrogant person. And then Jesus in the book of Mark even says, like, I will teach you to be gentle and humble because I am humble and gentle in heart. Like, oh, it's something I need to learn. Right. It's not something I'm going to like naturally do. Yeah. Naturally, I think I'm right. And naturally, I'm going to like come after you. Right. And be like, you're wrong. I'm right. You see the difference? Why. Yeah, but like, totally. Oh, I can learn to do that. And I can see how Jesus did that and how he modeled just gentleness. And he didn't water down what was true. He was still being like, no, I'm God. And I'm coming to forgive the sins of the world. Like he didn't back off from that. Yeah. But how he did that with who he interacted with. And you have to know the relationship. Yeah. His interactions with his disciples and the people in the town were very different than the religious leaders. Right. Why? Because that was an appropriate way to address those people because of the different relationships he had with them. Right.
Closer the relationship you have, the larger, the deeper the conversation can go. The least relationship you have, you gotta tread very lightly because you don't have that relational equity. There's no backing. There's no trust built up.
Yeah.
So if it's your best friend, you can sit and you can be like, dude, what's going on? Like, we got to talk about this, because you have that trust built, the time relationship that's in there. But if you see somebody on the street who is an acquaintance or somebody at school in the hallway who is doing something that you don't agree with, if you went up to them and be like, dude, what are you doing? We got to have a conversation. Right. They're going to be like, who are you? Like, you can't, the conversations cannot look the same depending on the relationship that you have with people. So that is so like key and critical within it. Jesus dealt with his disciples differently than he dealt with the Pharisees, differently than he dealt with just the regular population. And so we have to be careful about that too, and not just act like everyone's our best friends when they're not, and calling people out on their crap. Like, it's probably not going to be received super well. There's a way to do that.
But there's so much truth in those, places in scripture then too, right? Like, even just imagining, right? Like, even if fundamentally like those truths were just like accepted in general public, right? Like, how differently would just culture look like around hard topics if people were slow to speak and not quick to get angry, but like wanted to be quick to listen to others and just to be gentle in that response back to them as they give a defense for why they believe what they believe then too, and like being able just to receive that well then too. Like, culture just looks so different. I think in so many ways.
It would be nice.
It would be nice.
Like, that just sounds so pleasant.
Yeah.
Seriously.
So nice.
Yeah.
And we can control at least that for our interactions around us.
Sure.
Maybe we can pray for other people. We can pray for media outlets and whatever. But like, the reality is I get to control my mouth and my ears. And so like, why don't we just start taking responsibility for ourselves and our interactions and our relationships?
Yeah.
And then like that can spur others on. So like, we are responsible for our mouths.
Totally.
So like, control them. Like Proverbs talks about like the tongue can bring life and it can bring death.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Like that, when I start thinking about my words and how I'm even like correcting someone who may even be doing something wrong, I could equally be as wrong with the way I talk with them, my tone. Maybe I'm even coming from a right place, but how I'm addressing them is wrong. And then I need to repent as much as they need to repent from their actions because of how I talk to them. So we just need to be just so careful about ourselves. And,
and not blame other people for our bad responses.
Right.
Like, they made us do that.
Yeah.
Like, if you respond bad to me, I can't say, well, he made me then respond back to him. But so often I hear our students saying like, well, I wouldn't have done that if they didn't do it. They made me do it.
Right.
It's like, no, girl, they did not make you do it. You did that. You take ownership of your mouth, of your reactions. You could have stopped and you could have ended that cycle. Yeah. But instead, you just did tit for tat and went right back at it.
Right.
And here's where dysfunction happens and relationships break down and where it's not a good thing. So don't blame anyone else for your mouth or your bad behavior.
Right.
They respond the way they did. Maybe it was great. Maybe it was terrible. You can choose to respond the way that you want to, and it does not need to be terrible.
An apology with the word "but" is not an apology.
Right.
Ooh.
Just being like, dude, I'm so sorry that I did that, but like,
I wouldn't have done it.
You just can't, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
It's like, that apology. Yeah. It doesn't feel great.
Well, I think
you're blaming me, so.
Just a little bit. But I think you guys are kind of setting up this kind of idea that even to like, as just to kind of close out our conversation around this then too, I'm thinking through like, man, what does it look like for us to like, again, with these friends or people in our lives when we have these disagreements, what does it really look like for us to have that while also being just honoring in a way? Because I think in a lot of ways we see so many instances of people who disagree and they're not honoring to one another then too, right? And I think we're kind of hitting at a lot of these things already then too, but like, what are some of those ways that we're able to do that? And can we truly disagree with someone but not be like, like just a butt to them in a way then too? Is there a way to still be nice and respectable and honoring to someone, even though we disagree on maybe some of these hard topics that we feel super, super strongly about in some ways?
I don't think there's another human walking the face of the earth right now that I agree with about everything to the fullest extent.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
It'd be weird. I don't want to meet them. If there is, that'd be like super weird.
Yeah. They'd be like
that Spider-Man.
Do you want to go out to lunch too? Yeah.
You?
Nice shirt, man. It's nice shirt.
A world full of Drew Williams doesn't sound great. Yeah. Because like even in like my closest relationship, my relationship with my wife, like just to let you in behind the curtains, like we don't agree on everything.
Oh, sure.
Right.
And there are even things that we know that we don't agree on. Yeah. That like we've had that conversation. We just don't even need to have that conversation again.
Right.
Because it's not a right and wrong thing. It's just a perspective thing.
Totally.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
And then even just like recognizing I'm a work in progress. Yeah, I haven't made it.
Yeah.
You haven't made it. We're all trying our best. And through Jesus changing my heart every day and me waking up and deciding to follow him that day just helps. Yeah. Like that's not going to hurt any relationship. Right. You recognizing you're not perfect and God is hopefully changing you if you're following him closely.
Yeah. And I think like keeping your emotions in check, like check yourself before you wreck yourself. Like take a deep breath. And just because somebody has a difference of opinions than you doesn't mean they're a bad person. Doesn't mean they're wrong. It could just be a difference of opinions. Yeah. And so when we lean into these conversations that are hard, if we just take a deep breath and allow them to think and believe what they want to and not take it personally and allow our emotions to get ahead of ourselves and we prioritize the relationship over right or wrong, we can then have an honest, open discussion about whatever it is without attacking, without getting offended, without throwing hurtful words or being aggressive. Like if you're not trying to change somebody, but if your intention is to hear them and to share then what you think and what you believe, it's going to go much better. And there's not going to be as many hurt feelings and jabs made. Like just check yourself, check your motives, take a deep breath and lean in and focus on the relationship and hearing that person. And then you can share your heart as well, but it doesn't need to be aggressive. Yeah. They're allowed to think and believe whatever they want to. I hope it's the same, but it might not be, and that's okay.
Just take it easy.
Right. Yeah. Just chill out a little.
Sometimes people just need to, and that may be a personality thing. Dude, just take it easy.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like,
totally.
I think
it's going to be okay.
There are bigger issues than maybe even what our disagreement is. And for the betterment of our relationship, like, we both just need to settle down.
Yeah.
And that doesn't happen in the moment.
Right.
Sometimes that takes like stepping away and getting perspective and coming back and being like, that's really not that big of a deal.
Do you think you're even off of that too? Like a huge part of that might even be just like, what does it look like to find common ground? No matter what it is. It doesn't even have to be about the topic, right? It can be about just like anything, but like find a baseline.
Agree to disagree.
Yeah.
Oh, we just agreed on something.
Right.
That's so happy.
Yeah.
And like okay. everyone can choose that. You know what I mean? Like, and there's so many other things too, but like it doesn't even have to do with the topic itself. I think like truly, if you can find some sort of baseline, like, hey, we can meet on this level. Let's build off of that. And even in disagreements, we can build off of that. Yeah. But just like finding that spot is huge to continue to navigate through too, man. But y'all, it's good stuff, man. Thank you guys so much for joining us over the past 2 episodes for that. Thank you for your thoughts around hard topics then. Yeah. Some great stuff to think about then too. So thank you guys for joining us as well. And we'll see you next time on the Ugly Cheers podcast.